Super scary Sundays, girl. You better get that out of here. Yes, today is Super Scary Sunday, where we watch some true story scary animations and scary videos. If you enjoy these videos, then go ahead and smack that like button. And yeah, comment down below something scary. I post new videos every day at 3 p.m. Pacific, so make sure you come on back tomorrow. And please subscribe to my gaming channel, DangMattSmith. Just click that first link in the description below. And guys, these animations that we're gonna watch were made by MJV Animations, so make sure to click that link in the description below and subscribe to them. And let's go!
I'm 27 and currently out of work.
Uh-oh.
I recently got laid off at my job, as the company I worked for was starting to go under. So, in an effort to keep up with the bills, I started delivering for Uber Eats part-time. A couple of my friends suggested it, and so I figured I'd give it a try until I found another job. To my surprise, it was actually good money. The only thing I didn't like was some of the places the app had me delivered to. I live in a city with a lot of sketchy areas. I try to stay away from those areas while delivering, but there's only so much you can do. This night, a Saturday, I got a McDonald's order. I usually don't accept those ones, but this night was strangely dead. Which was weird. Saturday nights are usually the busiest for Uber Eats. Anyway, I pick up the order and start heading towards the address I'm given. Instantly, I realized it was not in the best area.
Uh-oh.
But by this point, I decided to just suck it up. I pulled up to the house, and right away the vibe was off. It was completely dark with not a single light on in the house. Usually there's at least a light on upstairs, or something that would signal someone being awake and waiting for their order. But the house seemed dead. Nevertheless, I put the car in park, turned off the engine, grabbed the order, and started walking towards the door. I walked onto the porch, and as I reached for the front door, I saw it. The door was slightly cracked open. I knocked, and as I did, the door opened slightly more. I yelled out that I had an Uber Eats order, and right away, some man walked to the front door.
Just leave it on the porch.
As he got closer, I got a good look at him. Now, I'm not one to judge a person by their physical appearance, but this guy was practically covered head to toe in tattoos. The guy looked extremely intimidating. Definitely not someone you'd want to mess with.
Run, man!
He had this look of frustration, or almost anger on his face. He was staring at me dead in the eyes. I lifted up the bag of food, and he grabbed it.
'Cause he just got out of prison.
I figured he was going to give me a tip. But no, before I knew it, the guy was holding a hunting knife and pointing it in my direction. My stomach dropped, realizing the situation I was now in.
Run!
I was either going to get robbed for everything I had, or worst case scenario, killed. My mind was now racing. Thinking as fast as I could, I turned around towards my car, screamed at Derek to grab the gun, and put my hand in my pocket to start my car's engine from a button on the key. But there was no Derek, and I was in no way armed. But I figured if I could somehow convince this guy I gave myself a chance to get out of this.
That's smart.
All I could do was pray that the threat along with the vehicle starting would be enough to convince this guy I didn't come here alone. And luckily it was. The guy shoved me back and slammed the front door. I ran back to my car and practically tore the door off trying to get in.
Jeez.
I got out of there as fast as I could. I would of course end up calling the police, but I never heard anything back about whatever ended up happening. I assumed they didn't find anything, and that the guy was long gone by the time they arrived on scene.
Wow.
But I can't confirm this. If there's one thing I'm sure of, it's how fortunate I am to own a car with a remote proximity key, as I don't think the guy would have bought the whole act if I didn't start the engine. I still drive for Uber Eats every once in a while, but I've since started carrying a knife on me at all times.
Not today. If you open the door and you see this man, yeah, just cancel Christmas. Yeah, call it a day. This dude looks like he just came from a meeting with Satan. You better get off my porch. Bro, you sure you wanted McDonald's? You sure you didn't want a goat to sacrifice? I mean, okay, that's insane. So, you know, if you know people that are delivering for Postmates or Uber Eats or DoorDash, tell them to, don't do it! Okay, moving on to another one. Here we go. Clown story. Uh-oh.
Did you ever have an imaginary friend when you were a kid?
Nope.
I did. His name was Freckles the Clown.
Ugh.
He had red fuzzy tufts of hair jutting out of the sides of his head at odd angles. His eyelids were painted blue and his face was painted white. He had a red nose and lots of freckles. The freckles weren't just on his face.
They're on his butt.
Or his clothes and arms, like a million little misshapen polka dots.
Wow.
Or like blood splatter. When I walked home from school, Freckles would tag along. I didn't have many friends, only one or two, and they had other friends who they spent most of their time with. So, I was left alone with Freckles. We'd splash through mud puddles together in the spring, make piles of leaves and dive into them in the fall. We'd make snow forts in the winter and snowmen to guard them. I never had many real friends, but I was never lonely as long as Freckles was around to keep me company.
Freckles?
What I didn't know was that Freckles was a jealous imaginary friend. He didn't like me hanging out with anybody except for him.
Jeez.
One day at school, I made a friend. A real one. A real one. Not invisible like Freckles. A kid named Peter started talking to me during recess.
Aw.
We were both playing on the jungle gym when I saw a South Park t-shirt. I complimented him on it and said that was my favorite show, even though technically I wasn't allowed to watch it. That seemed to be enough information for him to decide I was okay. He told me that a bunch of his friends were coming over that weekend for his birthday party and invited me to come.
That's nice.
Freckles was, since I always looked for his approval. He was nowhere to be seen. He had just vanished.
You too old for imaginary friends.
He gave me his address and told me to be there Saturday around noon. An extra invitation was in his backpack, and he gave it to me at the end of the day. Hastily filled out with my name. Misspelled, but that was okay. I was actually invited to a birthday party for the first time in my life. I couldn't believe it. The rest of the week, I was so excited about the birthday party. It was all I talked about. To my parents, my teachers, to everybody willing to listen. Freckles, however, seemed like he was mad at me though.
Yeah, why are you mad?
Talk about the birthday party. Didn't even want to hear about it. Eventually, he seemed to come around though. By Friday night, he was excited as I was. Not for the same reasons.
Well, he can't come.
Saturday finally came, and my mom drove me to Peter's house.
Freckles ain't invited.
And gave me a kiss on the cheek, telling me to be good before driving away. I went inside and found a bunch of kids from my class who were
Pin the
already
tail
there,
on the donkey.
playing Pin the Tail on the Donkey and wearing pointed cardboard hats covered in polka dots.
How old are y'all?
"Look who's here," Peter said when I got inside. He introduced me to his other friends, who pretended to meet me for the first time. It was weird because I had seen them all in school for years, but they acted like I was new to the neighborhood or something. It didn't bother me though. I was just excited to be included for once. "Did you bring a jacket?" Peter asked. "We're gonna go out in the forest and play paintball with slingshots." It turned out his mom had just bought a jumbo container of paintballs and a dozen slingshots for his birthday party, since that was what he wanted to do more than anything on his special day. What a great mom. I'd indeed bought a jacket with me, and I put it on after we had eaten lunch. I was stuffed from the kid-friendly spread consisting of pizza, Pepsi, and ice cream cake. The 10 of us went outside and made our way to the nearby forest. It's funny. These days, stuff like this would probably never fly, giving kids slingshots and projectiles and sending them out into the forest to have fun. That's how it was back then. Nobody thought anything of it. We all split up for the free-for-all match and agreed we would meet up again where we started, at the entrance to the forest, once an hour had passed.
Good luck.
The ground was muddy, and fallen leaves covered the forest floor as I walked around by myself, no longer feeling so lonely. Everyone had scattered throughout the forest. Strangely, I didn't see anyone for a while. Even Freckles had disappeared on me.
Freckles?
I wondered if maybe he was mad that I was making new friends. But he seemed excited about the party the day before. It didn't make sense. The whole hour went by and nobody shot a single paintball, as far as I could tell. There were no joyous yells or playful insults ringing through the trees. It was dead silent. In fact, as if even the birds had become mute or had fled the woods entirely. Silence permeated everything, and the sound of my boots crunching through the leaves was all I could hear. A full hour had passed, so I went uneasily back to the forest entrance.
Yeah, time to go home.
Part of me thought maybe everyone had ditched me and run for the hills, realizing how much of a loser I actually was.
Aww.
Nobody was at the forest entrance. All the kids were still out there somewhere, roaming the woods. My unease growing more and more with each step, I began to search for them. I didn't know why, but a knot of worry was growing steadily in my belly, getting larger and heavier by the second. It took a while to find them. They were all together, so that made it easier.
Wait, what?
I was drawn in by the sound of someone chewing something stringy and wet, like an animal. The sounds of teeth snapping cartilage and chewing gristle became even clearer as I drew near. Freckles was crouched and perched on a log like a wild primate. He was covered in blood and stripping the flesh from a piece of bone,
Freckles!
licking his lips when he saw me.
Ugh.
An overjoyed giggle poured out of him. Around him were the corpses of my new friends. Bloody, ragged, ripped flesh hung from their bones in places where he had taken big bites. Their clothes were ripped and torn from their struggles to escape him.
You were right!
He announced when he saw me.
Birthday parties are fun!
My voice caught in my throat as I tried to scream, unable to make a sound.
I'm so glad you invited me.
You weren't invited, Freckles! Nobody sent you an invitation, what the heck? Dang it, Freckles! You done ruined the birthday party. They had pizza, they had cake, they had soda, and you wanted to eat people? Like, what's wrong with you? You gotta watch out for them crazy clowns out there. You don't go into the middle of the forest to shoot paintballs with slingshots. What happened to staying inside where it's safe and playing video games? Well, I bet you that kid ain't going outside no more. Okay, guys, moving on to the last one. Here we go. Hello?
I used to occasionally deliver for DoorDash on the weekends.
Uh-oh.
This happened about a year ago, and at the time DoorDash was new to my area. Not many people used it, but if you worked at the right times, you could still make well above minimum wage. It was a Friday night, and I got a request in the app to deliver to a house around 8 miles away. The house was on a deeply wooded back road, with absolutely no streetlights. Like, literally, if you turned your headlights off at this time of the night, you were completely blind. I delivered to a house in this area once before.
Don't do it.
I didn't have much for phone service, so it was difficult to find exactly where I needed to be. But after a while, I finally found the place. The house seemed pretty similar to a lot of the other houses in the area. Secluded looking, and right on the edge of being able to comfortably call it abandoned. I pulled up to the house, and because of the limited visibility, I decided to keep my car's headlights on while I dropped off the food at the door. But to do this, I had to keep the keys in the ignition, and so I did. I figured it wouldn't be the end of the world if I left my car running for an extra 30 seconds. I took the bag of food to the front door. I knocked a few times, and waited about 20 seconds, when my phone went off. I was getting a call from a blocked caller ID. I decided to answer it in case it had anything to do with the food I was delivering. It was some man who sounded completely normal. He explained how he was the one who placed the DoorDash order, and he then asked me if I could just bring it to him around back.
Nope.
I was already sketched out as is, and so I told the guy no way. If he wanted his food, he needed to come to me up front. But to that, the line just went dead.
Just leave it at the door.
I told myself I'd wait at the front door for one more minute, and if this guy didn't show up, I was just gonna leave. Maybe 30 seconds passed, and the guy did show up.
Oh,
the
no.
front door opened, and I looked at the dude. He was wearing a black ski mask, and was just standing there looking at me. I held out the food, but he made no reaction. That's when the guy yelled out, "Alright, now." Right as he said this, 3 men, also wearing ski masks, came sprinting out from around the back of the house towards me.
Run!
My flight reaction kicked in immediately, and I ran straight to my car. I opened the door, put it in drive, and had the pedal to the floor in no less than 2 seconds. The men were able to hit my car a good amount of times before I was able to drive off.
Jeez.
With what, I don't know, but something strong enough to break my back passenger side window and make a few other dents. Not even a minute into driving off, and I got 2 back-to-back calls from a blocked caller ID that I can only assume were both from the same guy.
Wow.
I let both calls ring until they stopped. I was shaking uncontrollably and still struggling to regain my composure. But after a few minutes, I calmed down enough to call the police and report the incident. And that was that. I don't know what ended up happening, and I genuinely don't want to know. I've tried to distance myself from the whole situation as much as possible. It's beyond terrifying for me to imagine what those guys had planned for me that night. A part of me thinks it was just to rob me, but another part of me thinks they wanted to kidnap me, or worse.
You guys need to start delivering with Postmates because DoorDash and Uber Eats keep sending these guys to criminals. Oh my gosh, that's crazy, man. I mean, look, I am not gonna be delivering any food to anybody. But I'll get food delivered to me. I mean, you know, that'll be fine because I'm hungry, so yeah. But that's gonna do it for Super Scary Sunday. If you enjoyed the video, then go ahead and smack that like button. And yeah, I'm gonna see you guys tomorrow. Until then, peace.